Steve Lucas is a director of product management for Qualcomm's XR ecosystem. He has over 7 years of immersive experience between his roles in developer relations at Magic Leap, CEO of Across Realities, and XR investment diligence for Qualcomm Ventures. He has overseen and built several multiplayer experiences in AR and VR, and believes that real-time cross-platform multi-layer is the future of this space. Then let's welcome Steve.
Hi, everyone. You have to forgive me. I got to take a moment here. This isn't how it looked like in the rehearsals. I thought I hit peak 1985 nostalgia when I got my Transforming Optimus Prime last month. But seeing all of you here, all masked up in such orderly fashion, I feel like Cobra Commander giving a briefing on how we're going to defeat G.I. Joe. First, we get vaccinations. I'm sorry, I know some of you might be a little young for that. But your parents are going to love it. I'm just trying to get a feel for whether or not you think that kind of stuff is pop culture or your pop culture. So, welcome to the circus. This is Ramp to the Future of XR, and I am Steve Lucas. I will be your guide today to navigating how to get more people into our vast new realities. Ignoring all the pop culture references and all seriousness, this will honestly be one of the most important tech talks in XR that I'll have ever given. No relation to the boat. I've been in tech for over 20 years. My own XR journey started in 2014 with AR/VR investments in Qualcomm Ventures, where we did diligence in Magic Leap and Alchemy Labs, and we asked the question, how do we get to the all-day, everyday tomorrow that we saw in Roni's pitch decks? We all had our theories. Mine was around multiplayer ecosystems in multi-platform. I applied that to my own startup, Across Realities, sprinkled some of that into the Magicverse when I did DevRel at Magic Leap, and then I got a call and said, hey, you know that cross-platform stuff you've been looking for? Well, listen to this project that we're doing at Qualcomm. And the project aligned with my same mission for the last 7 years, bringing XR to everyone. More on that in a bit, but I realize a few in the audience might be thinking, Qualcomm, I don't even know who that is. Well, you will, because Qualcomm is the world's leading wireless technology innovator. Its name is a mashup of quality communications, and we create products and solutions to enable a world where everyone and everything is intelligently connected. More relevant to our show, our Snapdragon family of chips power a number of headsets you should be familiar with, like Quest, HoloLens, Spectacles, with over 50 head-mounted AR/VR platforms in the market today worldwide. Earlier this morning, Hugo Swart, our VP and GM of XR at Qualcomm, announced the product I was referring to, the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. It's our first time directly engaging developers at large to build for XR. Through this SDK, we'll be able to offer developers more ways of creating head-mounted immersive software for AR glasses across manufacturers. Our goal is to reduce friction and accelerate the growth of the AR ecosystem. Also of note, Hugo oversees every XR platform partnership powered by our company and owns the product roadmap for XR's foreseeable future. If you want to keep on top of all the things we're doing in XR, AR, VR, smart glasses, and more, I encourage you to follow that account. While you're all doing that, viewers at home, go ahead and smash that like button, and if you want to see more of our content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Welcome back. Class, this is today's syllabus. We're going to go over what is Snapdragon Spaces, why is Qualcomm doing this, what's the form factor, which hardware platforms will it support, who's the audience, why should I as a developer work on this, when will it be available, and finally, what are my action items coming out of this talk? To set the stage, we first need to talk a bit about where we are today with head-mounted consumer AR. And that starts with a meme. Does this look familiar? Phase 1, collect underpants. Phase 2, question mark. Phase 3, profit. This comes from a show called South Park. It speaks to business models that don't quite know how to get from phase 1 to phase 3, but extol the values of phase 3. And it's so great that we just talk about its benefits that only come once we're already there. Well, how about this one? Phase 1, build AR hardware. Phase 2, Phase 3, everyone is wearing AR glasses for everything. I've seen a lot of fun guesses for phase 2, like we just keep making incremental improvements to high-end head-mounted AR, or if we just build a giant catalog of apps, phase 3 will just happen. Sure, Jan. To me, phase 3 is not just a handful of enthusiasts buying head-mounted AR. It's not just a handful of enterprises. Phase 3 is mass market scale. Phase 3 is when your family calls for AR glasses tech support. And that's not today, not yet. But just like the future that we see in all the fancy vision videos, AR glasses will one day be as normal as the smartphones we hold in our hand. It's inevitable. It won't come immediately, but we at least have to be able to see a logical bridge point between phase 1 and phase 3 and attempt to answer the question, how do we normalize AR? But perhaps we should look a little bit at how we got here. The smartphone. Before each of us had one, could you imagine the pinching and zooming we have to do on our screen, pulling to refresh, or learning how to close apps once they took the home button away? That's all natural now, but we slowly adapted, and we had a starting point to train us from existing lower tech analog with a UE. And that's either a cell phone or an iPod. We got used to carrying something in our pocket and pulling it out when we needed it, charging it, so we already had something to start with. Similarly, smartwatch. Before this, I never charged my watch daily by my bed, and when I went to travel, I would always forget the charger. But now it's natural, it's normal. Again, that all started with the wristwatch. I got used to having something on my arm that I would use to give me information. So these devices worked because they were novel evolutions of something familiar. But AR glasses, they don't have an informational analog like the above do. And looking at what we want people to do with this high-end AR, this thing's fancy. One of the solutions we've thought of, or just the industry's thought of, is just keep improving high-end AR and it'll trickle down. And many people at this venue are working on that very thing. Thank you very much. This is great work. And think about all these advancements, right? Field of view, hand tracking, eye tracking, crisper optics, better battery life, better comfort, improved computer vision intent prediction, brain-computer interface. This, to us, all sounds glorious because we understand its purpose. But think about the unconverted. Take a step back. This is a much higher level of culture shock and adaptation than going from a 15-button cell phone to a touchscreen. To use AR glasses, we're asking people to change not only how they see, but also how they interact. Almost nothing is carrying them from outside AR to inside AR, and that's scary. This is a problem for consumers and developers. Can we introduce all of these concepts to the every person in a gradual way to prep them for the high-end immersive worlds waiting on the other side? Well, that's one of our missions with the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. Bridging the worlds of today and tomorrow, it's software built on several key principles: proven technology and innovation, an open platform and ecosystem, and the emphasis of being a developer-first platform. The target form factor starts with Snapdragon-powered glasses paired with Snapdragon-powered mobile devices. We're leveraging the smartphone and AR glasses to take advantage of the best of both worlds while meeting developers where they are. Check out one of our previous AWE sessions on smart viewers for more on the distributed computing technology in this hardware. For commercial deployment, we're working with OEMs to provide consumers options to utilize apps built with the platform. For our first dev kit, we've partnered with Lenovo to provide the Think Reality A3 as our development hardware for the AR glasses, along with the Snapdragon reference mobile device as the attached touchscreen computing unit. We expect commercial designs from our OEM partners to be announced over the coming year. Audience. This question always comes up. Is this a gaming platform? Are you targeting consumers? Is this for enterprise? Well, our goal here is to mainstream AR, to make it as ubiquitous as your mobile phone. That means as a consumer, all-purpose focus that can extend and scale up into the enterprise as appropriate. With that in mind, our Snapdragon Studios team put together an AR experience for our booth this week, showcasing just some of the concepts we've envisioned for using AR around the home or our daily lives. Since we're illustrating holograms within holograms, we use a color language with grayscale representing the real world, the blue people as the users, with color representing the AR content that they're experiencing. So imagine streaming media at any size in your room, wherever you want it. Lean back gaming using 3D reconstruction to transform your home space into a dynamic game level. Active gaming, leveraging the controller sensors for 3-off tracking ability today and 6-off in the future, which is great for fitness aficionados. Image recognition and tracking allow for an augmented cookbook that can use hand tracking to interface with without having to touch screens with dirty or floured hands. And finally, waiting for your flight home would be much more fun with a floating game screen where you can still safely pay attention to your surroundings while you play. We envision a world where AR isn't a dystopian future, but rather provides a personalized experience that lets us see all around us in volumetric 3D, closer to the way we as humans actually see the real world. To achieve all this, we're investing heavily in perception technologies that we're incorporating into the platform. These should all sound familiar if you're already in the space. Positional tracking, anchors and persistence, spatial mapping and meshing, plane detection. But I want you to pay close attention to our recognition and tracking features. See, while we're building organically, we also level up through acquisition. And we announced that Wikitude and Clayair, both well known in this space, are officially part of the Qualcomm family, bringing their perception technology in-house with image recognition and tracking, object recognition and tracking, and hand tracking, all folding in to Snapdragon Spaces. Our other two key pillars are very related. Our open platform cross-device XR ecosystem means that as more OEM partners come online with new mobile and glasses platforms, we will allow them to target those new devices without having to rebuild their apps. We're also working with Kronos to adhere to and extend OpenXR to make development easy. By including OpenXR integration at the lower layer and technologies such as AR Foundation up top, this should allow devs to increase the reach of their existing AR XR apps with very little porting effort. And that leads me to one last upcoming technology in the SDK I've been very excited to share with you for months. When pairing headset to mobile, the natural idea is to align the design to that of other HMDs, with the headset driven by a mobile computing device for its CPU and GPU, and onboard sensors to transform your phone into a modified flat touchpad controller, which our platform supports. But we looked at this again from another angle, and we pondered the question, what if? Instead of a headset complemented by the mobile phone as an accessory input, we looked at it the other way, where the primary experience is an app on your mobile phone, and the headset enhances the mobile app as an accessory output. Our layperson term we're using for this is AR as a feature for your mobile app. It's still early in development, but is a big and important part of our SDK. Think about that for a minute. Today, even with amazing tools like MRTK, porting a mobile app to a fully AR HMD requires entire spatialization of the UI for navigating and menus and figuring out how to handle interrupts before even building out the actual gameplay loop. It's a lot of work for developers and a whole re-education exercise for consumers. What does it even look like? I put together a quick lab video. Ignore the jittery shaky cam, that's me using R&D equipment. I just wanted to show what it looks and feels like. So this here is an illustration of how we can keep everything already built for a mobile app, add glasses, and then what you have is AR, sure, but with menus that are still easy to navigate. And you get to keep all the tech you've already incorporated into your app. Two-factor authentication, multiplayer engine, database integration, how to scroll, how to search, all stays. And boom, you just add AR where it makes sense. And unlike ARKit and AR Core, here your UI and your view are no longer fighting for the same pixel space on your device. All of the above were existing mobile AR or mobile apps that were ported over in a week total across 5 separate prototypes, only a few shown here. In some cases, all we did was drop an additional camera for the AR, and it just worked. The reason this was also easy to create polished prototypes was because we built on top of existing solid apps. Now, a well-known UX designer recently stated something similar on social. Existing AR ecosystems only have such prolific adoption because they have created products on the foundation of utility and not on the foundation of AR itself. Perfection. Similarly, when you use AR to level up your apps, you're building on existing mobile foundations that you as a developer have refined for years, and your audience as consumers have learned how to use for over a decade. Look at the above. And picture today as our mobile world, with tomorrow as our fully immersive world. With Snapdragon Spaces, you'll be able to slowly add AR to your app, providing something novel with what's already familiar, and where you can take your development team and your consumers and put them on the ramp to the future of XR. Title drop. See, through this architecture, developers will not have to reinvent their app for AR. Developers can just add it. Put that slider wherever they want. Then add as little or as much as they feel comfortable with, even deploying it to existing users as a beta or an in-app purchase. Now, everyone internally that's heard this concept, including myself, had to chew on it for at least a couple days to truly digest it. Which is great timing, because I'll be back on Thursday to talk more about how to think about eventually upgrading your mobile app to utilize AR as a feature. More details at the end of this session. We don't want to work in a vacuum. That's why we're establishing relationships with our developers to help ensure we listen to feedback like, I want to see stuff closer to my face, can you enable that please? And other requests to help ensure that we optimize our underlying platform technologies and for all of our partners to benefit from. Our first early access developers are listed behind me, and some of them are right in front of me, with general availability of our SDK coming in spring of 2022. So, between today and then, what we're doing now is gathering interest in who'd like to be working with us as we build out our platform. Which leads to my favorite question. What are my action items from this session? Or why wasn't I in the other room? We're pleased to announce our Pathfinder program to help accelerate developers in bringing their apps to the Snapdragon Spaces XR platform. For obvious reasons, we have limited hardware availability, so we have an application process where you tell us about your applications and your team. Well, what apps are we going to prioritize with this program? Let's see that phasey slide again. If we ever plan on getting to phase 3, we have to approach phase 2 very methodically. It's very polite to be open-ended and let developers try to figure out what sounds good to us, but we'd like to be a little more strategic and give you some guidance here. While we have a team that will evaluate all the applications, I'm going to share some criteria specific to the nature of this talk. We believe that, yes, a large library of use cases are great, but before we can get 50, we need 10. Before 10, 5. Before 5, 3. Before 3, 1. If you, an AR enthusiast in this room, haven't used one app on an AR HMD this week for personal entertainment or productivity, you'll see how far we really are from phase 3. But let's focus on helping familiarize people with AR to get them to think about using it on a regular basis. To that end, we want to start by planting some ideas in your head. Instead of asking for specific use cases, we'd like to focus on a few properties. We're looking for apps that make you want to keep your glasses handy and use them even if it's just for a specialized purpose. In the earliest days, only so many apps will exist that only do a few things. So what's the most value that any of those things can bring? We use the properties to help answer that differently for each of us. Consider that in the beginning, each consumer might be only buying the glasses for a single specific use case. Does that sound familiar or make sense? Think about the last specialized kitchen gadget you bought. For me, it was a sous vide. Before that, a milkshake stirrer. Like that. If the right tool added value to your cooking workflow, you just might buy it and use it for that thing on a rare or occasional basis, because it's better than what you already have today. When you're getting ready to cook, you may be going, oh, hey, where's my sous vide? Where's my milkshake stirrer? Where's my glasses? This is behavioral change. Next is repeatability, routine usage. What are the things that make you come back to using them on a regular basis? A workout tracking device, something you take with you to the gym. What apps could be positive habit forming to get consumers to find good reason to use AR glasses multiple times a week? AR lessons, maybe? Remember, the idea is to get people coming back and seeing the value that AR can bring to them. Not because it's required by your boss, but because it's desired and people can see the benefits. We're trying to help acclimate people into using AR. The best part here is that if any developers already have a great mobile app with plenty of users, they can just enhance it with AR using AR as a feature. Start small, get your analytics. Instead of trying to get people to do something wholly unfamiliar, developers can start seeing what resonates with their existing users who already have their app. And if you have a popular app that can start with a simple enhancement for AR, we're interested in helping you get there. Finally, going back to acclimation. In these early days, as we begin to crawl towards mainstream AR adoption, we're going to be more encouraged to see apps that consider a low cognitive demand from their users that gently bring AR into their daily lives, which is now possible by keeping around the familiar. Remember, we don't just want to blow people's minds for short experiences that they'll enjoy once and never again, but like an umbrella shape on a Dalgona honeycomb cookie, we want to impress upon people the advantages of using AR on a regular basis. Wrapping up. The Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform, built on a history of proven technology and innovation entrenched in an open cross-device AR ecosystem, is our developer-first platform for on-ramping developers into immersive AR apps in the tangible future to prepare them for the fully immersive mainstream to come. We're starting with a mobile plus AR glasses form factor. Our first hardware dev kit for early access consists of Lenovo 83 glasses paired with a Snapdragon-based mobile phone. To get into early access, you can apply to our Pathfinder program starting today, with general availability coming in spring of 2022. During the expo, we'll be at booth 205, where you can see a showcase AR experience with a vision of where we see the platform going. And I'll have private demos of our AR as a feature touchscreen experience on me. Finally, I'll be back up on Thursday for part 2, designing your mobile app for Qualcomm's tools. Thank you, everyone. This was Ramp to the Future of XR, presented by Qualcomm. Okay, see you in the multiverse.
Thank you, Steve. Fascinating times.
Sorry?
Fascinating times.
Thank you.
Ahead. Any question here? No questions? Please, go ahead.
Where does this live? So what if I put Niantic on top of this?
Let's talk outside. Gary.
Please.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think would be the biggest factor to accelerate the ramp, to make it go faster? What do you think? I mean, you could look at it two ways. What's the thing that slows it down? What's the thing that could accelerate the acceptance to get to phase 3 faster?
I think the acceleration will be that slide you saw with the phone with all the apps on it and the glasses. Instead of turning that phone into a modified controller, you look at every app on that phone and say each of those apps can now have AR. So instead of just going after dozens of developers or hundreds that have worked in XR, we can go after thousands or more of developers that work in mobile and bring AR to them at their own pace.
Please.
What are the phones that are going to be supported with the headset?
That will be coming for, that's a coming announcement. We have to stage these things and stagger them out, yeah. But thank you, Cam.
Please.
You have compatibility with
I'm not sure the answer to that question, but my guess will be no. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.